Hello, and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And Josh.
And we're coming at you with an anime that Josh has always told me about, and it's always been on my radar for many, many moons. And we now just finally sat, or Josh has already seen it. I finally have sat down and watched that. And what it is Jin-Roh, the Wolf Brigade. The one that's, it always touts it like it's made by the animation team of Ghost in the Shell.
Right. Well, and it has the unique style of those 90s Ghost in the Shell movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
you know what I mean? Like,
similar look.
Yeah, so it's like, this is why 90s anime is so fun, is, you know, very little computer generated ability. You know, it was like certain aspects where I think some of the Ghost in the Shells had like some computer generated. I can't remember. Bubblegum Police is another one that I'm thinking of that was heavily computer generated. And those are mostly TV shows, the CGI ones.
I was going to say Bubblegum Police or Bubblegum Crisis, you mean? I guess that's the one you're thinking of?
Yes, there we go. Yeah.
Did that one have a lot of CG in it? I don't remember it having CG.
I think it did. I think it's more of like computer style graphics. Like it's kind of video gamey.
Interesting.
I'll have to go back and look.
I'll have to too, because that one's like 96, so that one feels like, because mostly at that time period you can tell when computer graphics are used as they stand out like hardcore,
right?
You know, they don't blend in. Well, I'll say this, even nowadays they don't blend in very well, but it's like it's just two different worlds.
And that's when we got a lot of like really interesting blending of it, because it's like early days. And I know one of these is definitely a 2000s, I think. Maybe it was made in late 90s in Japan, but we got it in 2000s. Witch Hunter Robin.
Yeah.
Where you had a combination of like all three different styles. You had hand-drawn, you had like still almost CGI generated backdrops where the characters were hand-drawn, and then like full-on like computer generated parts.
Yeah.
Like they kind of did the whole gambit.
Well, it's like even Cowboy Bebop has a little bit of CG in it for some of the vehicle stuff,
right.
You know, here and there, just certain scenes. For the most part, it's still hand-drawn, traditional, but yeah, it's weird because it's like it changes. But like, it's like nowadays, it's hard to find an animation that's, you know, even like a majority of it's hand-drawn, because so many things nowadays, it's like,
right,
they might try to be like faking it a bit, you know, so maybe the average person doesn't notice, but like so many things, like, yeah, that's pretty much all computer right there for the most part, even if it looks kind of hand-drawn at some points.
Right. No, 100%. And you know, it's gotten so much better to where it's doable now. It was doable back then. Like it had to be, the whole thing was like CGI to really turn me off of that anime. Like a perfect example of a newer one would be like this new version of Berserk.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot get into it because of the style, but this is a tangent. What I wanted to say about style, though, was the style, like the artistic approach and style of this particular anime. It is one of my favorites. Like it is so unique to itself, to where nothing else compares. You can't compare any other stylistic choice within like this medium with Jin-Roh. Jin-Roh's on its own fucking, you know, category, basically. Like it has to be number one, the prototype, and everything else that's similar style copies this one, in my opinion. A mainstream anime example of that would be the Big O. The Big O, nothing looks like the Big O until the Big O was already out. Then other stuff started to capture that style. And I don't mean just like their artistic choice of like how they use their art, but just the way everything is shot, the backgrounds, that particular style, because it's, you know, it's an alternate reality, like future after World War II, where it's almost like a Nazi Japan. Essentially, they use all their weapons are Nazi weapons from World War II. They don't use any other nation's weapons except for Nazis.
No, though, and they have Volkswagen vehicles.
Yeah, dude, but it's Japan. Like it is so unique to itself. Like its whole feel, the entire like just makeup of this film, of this particular anime. It's one of a kind.
Well, the interesting thing is because going into this, I really had no idea what anything was in it. All I knew is that there was like the cool armor guy on the cover, and that was about
You're like,
it.
I've seen the machine gun guy before.
Yeah, he looks like something out of like the newer Wolfenstein games,
100%.
99, and so I didn't really know what it was, and I was actually kind of surprised because it's actually a way different movie than I thought. It was almost more of a hard drama that just happens to have some other stuff in there. I was like, oh, okay, so this is different. This is interesting. The other thing, too, was when I was looking it up afterwards, it's like, oh, so this one's kind of technically like a third movie in a trilogy. Not like I think they're necessarily like the characters are connected, but maybe it's just like the world. But the other two are live action movies, which is kind of an interesting choice.
Right. Yeah, I've never seen those.
Yeah,
I can't tell you.
And then there's a manga that it's based on that's from literally the 80s. I was just trying to look that up real quick, and I was like, well, it's not easily sold in the U.S., I noticed. So it won't be one to, you probably, maybe somebody has a translated copy on like Internet Archives or something. But no, I like that whole look and style of it and so on. And I'm not even too sure if it really explained it right in the beginning of that movie, but I saw it kind of later on that's like, okay, so this is like post-World War II, but instead the Nazis won. And for some reason they occupied Japan afterwards, and then Japan kind of broke free in the 50s or whatnot and kind of became its own nation or so. But they've kept all like the German technology and stuff that they've kind of inherited, and that's kind of what makes this here. And so there's sort of this like totalitarian nation now. And of course, you got these terrorist kind of groups that don't like to be enforced by this and drive a Volkswagen. They're sick and tired of this. They're like, I want a Nissan, damn it.
Well, they were allied with the Nazis.
Yeah, they were.
In World War II. So I always miss that part because I feel like they don't ever really explain how we got to where we are in this film. You're almost kind of just thrown in the world.
Yeah, and see that's because when I was just reading up on it, I was kind of like either that was explained one in the book / or in those other two movies, you know what I mean? And like, because I'm like, I just don't remember that because that was something I noticed about halfway into the movie. I'm like, everything that is in here is like this, it's like German technology. They're always driving.
Everything's German.
You know what I mean? And then it's like they got like an MP40s and so on like that they're carrying around. And of course, the armor and the helmets and everything like that is very, very German. And it was like, oh, that's an interesting style choice. You know what I mean? That's kind of a cool concept, a halfway mixed match of Japan and German technology fused together. And then it makes more sense when now I hear that's like, oh, it's an alternative history thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the way I always looked at it. Like, I kind of just, absorbed that because I never looked at any of what came before for Jin-Roh. I just saw this one day. I'm like, because I saw it back in the day. Like I was young when I first saw Jin-Roh. And I think it like came on Max or something like that. And I, put it on. It was like Blood. Yeah. It was like Blood the Last Vampire. It was that same time frame when we found that film. And like, good luck finding that now. That's like such a hard movie to find.
Yeah,
but it just played randomly.
Yeah, those are those ones, like those handful of ones that would appear, as I said, like lots of Starz Action Channel at midnight, but since we were on the West Coast, we got it at 9 o'clock. You can watch them there.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But
that's where we found like Blue Gender.
That's a good one too.
That's one of my favorite anime of all time. I've met people who are like much younger than us, that are really into anime. They're like, Josh, they're like, oh, what are some of your favorite anime? And, we're naming a lot of the common ones that they would see too. We're going back and forth. And I was like, dude, have you ever checked out Blue Gender? And every time they're like, I've never even heard of that. And I'm like, you got to watch it. It's a little old, but, it holds up. It's a sci-fi flick. Like, it's going to hold up. And every single time they're like, Jesus, were all anime in the 90s so depressing? I was like, kinda,
yeah. It's the same with like video games, though. Like, look at any Final Fantasy from back in the day.
yeah. Like, there's some pretty fucked up parts, man.
I know. Well, that's the weirdest part about anime, like almost nowadays, is it's almost next to impossible to talk to people with it anymore because there's just so many choices out there that it's like
there's so many.
Yeah, everybody's in their own cat. Even like video games are like that too. I've learned that like you can meet somebody that they pretty much probably play maybe just as much video games as you do, but you have literally nothing in common. Not at all. It's like you might as well not. You could just end this conversation here. It's like there's so different worlds anymore.
If they go like, yeah, I just play a lot of Call of Duty, or yeah, I just play a lot of Souls, I'm like, well, I have nothing to talk about with you.
You don't even say anything. You just walk away.
Right. So I guess you're probably not excited about the new Mass Effect. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go fuck off now.
Yeah. I mean, granted, I do like the Call of Duty storylines, but I noticed that those people that say that they're really into Call of Duty never play the storyline, so I have nothing to talk to them about.
Right. Dude, I downloaded the World War II Battlefield, and I was not happy with those storylines. I thought that one was weak.
Oh, you didn't like that one? I actually like that. It's definitely greatest hits. Right. You know, it's not like it's trying to tread any like hardcore deep cut stories. They're all like the big ones, but I don't know. I enjoyed that one.
I don't know. I was like, meh.
I don't know. I can't even think of one I didn't like, actually, to tell you the truth. I think I've liked pretty much. So some of them are just, shorter or whatnot, but they're always like, yeah, that was good enough. You know what I mean? I'm not complaining.
Yeah, there's some new ones coming out, World War II, like shooters that look like they might be pretty promising. But speaking of World War II.
Yeah, speaking of alternate World War II.
Yeah. I purposely did not tell you anything every single time we brought this up, because I didn't want you to be like, I didn't want to tell you like, hey, it's basically like a drama spy thriller, like political espionage type thing. There's not a ton of action, but I didn't want to say that because then you'd be ready for it.
Yeah. Well, no,
so what did you think of the story, though?
No, I was like, that's the thing is I liked it because I had no idea what I was really getting into, and that made it more interesting. Sometimes I even say that about movies in general. It's like sometimes all I want to know is a movie poster. I don't even need to see a trailer. Something that's kind of fun just to look at the cover of it and go, hey, let's see what this is all about. And that's how this one sort of was, because, it first starts off, it's like, okay, you got these big old police officer type guys, and they got their giant, like, not mech suits, but, like, armored suits, big old helmets. They got the gas mask on and everything like that. And, of course, there's protesters out there, causing havoc and so on like that.
Those fucking hippies, fucking commies out there.
Protesters who don't got a goddamn job, so they're out here with all their free time.
Making Molotov cocktails, fighting the thin blue line. Gotta support the thin blue line.
Putting grenades in purses. Bunch of hooligans out here.
That part makes me laugh every single time when the cops get blown up and they're like, oh my God. And then the cops are just like, everyone's getting a fucking beat down. They're just fucking crushing everybody.
Well, there's that part I laughed. It was like the animation of it. There was a scene where like it was in the background. It wasn't the foreground shot, but there was a guy who had a protester in like a headlock, and he was like clubbing him in the face.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
I was laughing so hard there. It's just one of those ones. But like, yeah, after that dude threw the purse of grenades, it's like, oh, it's fucking on. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's also one thing about this film. It's very when there is violence and action, it's very fucking violent, very gory.
Yeah,
like, it has that Akira feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people get blasted, like blood shooting out everywhere and so on like that. Bullet holes. Dude. Yeah, so the gore is good. The gore and the violence is great when it happens. Dude,
when they use the machine guns and it literally like tears the dudes apart almost.
Yeah. I thought that was
it's brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
No, the violence is too cool in this one. But yeah, as they said, those protesters, they're fighting back against the police and so on like that. And it's in Japan, so I have no context of like if this is good or bad at this time period. It just seems like, I don't know, it's like looks like everything's taken pretty good care of. You still got arcades and so on like that. I don't know what you're complaining about.
Right. Goddamn rainbow people just protesting.
Yeah, they're bored on a Tuesday, But we kind of learned that like our main character dude is one of the, police, whatever SWAT team members of this unit, the Wolf Brigade, I guess what is Jin-Roh.
Right. They try to conceal the fact that he's in the Wolf Brigade, or they never acknowledge it, even though he is because he's an armored unit.
Yeah.
But all the little funny things that happen, like we're kind of jumping ahead, but whenever he has to beat somebody, he meets them in front of the wolf exhibit, at the Natural History Museum.
Yeah, exactly. That's where they do the setups at.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
There's one of those ones. It's like when it's at that scene, the dude's literally like talking. What is our main character's name? I gotta get that down real quick. It was it's like something. It's like 3 letters. That's all I remember. Fuse or whatever.
Fuse?
I think. Well, I mean that's what it is in the Japanese one. What it says here: Fuse and K, because K's the girl, or Kia.
Yeah.
But there's part he's talking to the dude and the wolf's there, but like the way that they angled the shot, it's like even though the wolf's behind the glass and everything, it just looks like the wolf's like licking the dude's face.
Right.
Just right there, like the guy's just making out with this wolf as like he's talking to him.
I don't know, dude. I like the storyline. The only thing that I don't like about the movie is the bitch constantly like telling him nursery rhymes.
So they, well,
and like the first couple ones, you're just like, and what happened? The fuck?
Well, it's like it uses that Little Red Riding Hood thing throughout the whole thing as like the the story whatever metaphor to how what everything's going on here, and she tells like the old school version like in bits and pieces, so it's the more brutal one, not just like the and then the hunter came at the end or the Darkstalkers version where they all just went to town on the wolf.
Right. No. This is definitely the more violent version, but I don't know. I thought it was funny. I don't know. That's just the one part that like it gives me a chuckle, but not like a this is actually funny chuckle. Just like fucking nursery rhymes. This is so silly.
Oh, it's funny because I was thinking because they use that Little Red Riding Hood story throughout it so much, and I thought about that like the way that she describes that story. I'm like, if that little girl, Little Red Riding Hood, just would have gave that wolf the cheese at the very beginning, would none of this would have happened? That's what it said. That's really what the story was. It was like literally like she's like, I gotta go visit my mom or whatever. I'm like 5 years old, and the wolf's like, yo, hey, you got some cheese and crackers and whatnot there? Hey, you might mind giving me some of those? And she's like, oh no, that's from my mom. Screw you, wolf. And it feels like she burnt that bridge. So the wolf's like, well, fuck this little bitch. I'm gonna go eat her mother now and wait for her to get here and then slowly eat her too once I'm ready to eat again.
You know what?
All I wanted was a fucking piece of cheese.
All I wanted was a Pepsi, and they wouldn't give me one.
So it just goes to show that sometimes you meet people, maybe it's better just to give them a slice, or else they're going to go and kill your whole family and you.
Right. And then, especially if they're Suicide Tendencies fans, because they're going to play that song while they do it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and plus these people here too, they're all terrorists, so they don't have a problem like pulling a grenade out of their purse and blowing themselves up. So,
well, it makes more sense now that you bring that up, because that's kind of how the story goes. You know what I mean? So, he's a wolf. He's in this specialized unit that Japan wants to get rid of, or a bunch of pussy ass politicians want to get rid of. Mm-hmm. That's the way I took it. Nobody wants the secret police out there.
Yeah, it felt like
killing terrorists.
They're keeping everything in check. I don't know. It's like, what do you do?
And that being said, we don't know who the bad guy is. No one explained to us why the terrorists are doing their thing. We just know they're fucking terrorists, and they are terrorists. They're blowing people up.
Yeah, they don't care. Yeah, they're killing all kinds of people, innocents and so on.
Right. So, anyways, Antifa is out there doing their thing, and we got the secret Trump police out there to hunt them down.
Yeah, that's what it is, and we learned that like we're gonna have a little intermixture of the groups here with a little love story and so on like that.
Right.
As our main dude goes down, they're in the sewers at one point, and it's just him and a bunch of other guys going down and just like murking all these dudes down there, and it's pretty badass and brutal. But then
they ambush the terrorists as they're trying to escape with a bomb.
Oh yeah, that's right. And then they chase them down the sewers.
Yeah, and they light them up. Like that is like the most one-sided fight ever.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. Let's be honest. Like he gives a bunch of these big old armored guys.
Yeah, but they're all terrorists. They all have guns. They're all doing terrorist things. They all die. And one of the runners, because they use little girls riding hoods to deliver these bombs so that they could, blow up their targets. And so she's running through and she runs into Fuse. And he basically freezes. Instead of just gunning her down, I guess he had, what would you say? Like a change of heart, a morality complex about gunning down a chick that probably looks like, I don't know, like 16, 17 years old. Something like that.
She did have the grenade already pulled, so I always kind of was like, for a split second there, I'm like, well, if he shoots her, will she just blow up anyways?
Right. Yeah, she had her thumb in the fuse.
Yeah, so I felt like there was also that kind of going on. I just felt like I felt like I de-escalated to like a realistic situation than more of an emotional situation. Well, you see here, she was gonna blow up anyway, so he was making the decision of like, how is he gonna go across this right now?
Well, he definitely froze because he's like, why?
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah, he questioned why. This is the first time he sees, a little girl, running bombs and so on like that. There's another scene where there's a couple of old dudes going like, yeah, they always use kids and little girls and shit. Dirty terrorist tactics never get old.
Right. So this basically leads Fuse because he basically gets blown the fuck up.
Yeah, this lady blows himself up.
His buddy saves him, but he gets blown up because, she goes out. She blows up the bomb. And he basically gets, like, sent back to training.
Mm-hmm.
But I almost wonder, and I'm like, well, I guess this whole fucking podcast is just us just spoiling the movie. But, you know what I mean? Like, there's no way to talk about it without spoiling it. But basically, it almost seems like the entire thing, after he gets blown up, that his superiors set this whole chain of events in motion. Like, almost like he was meant to go back to the academy so that he could get contacted by a whole different police organization, like a whole separate unit whose whole purpose in life seems to get rid of the secret police. And they concoct this plan to get Fuse to meet with a terrorist so that they can shame the secret police in enough negative publicity to completely disband that unit. That's the story in a nutshell, as far as I understand it.
That makes sense, because there was towards about the very end that I was getting like a little bit kind of confused on exactly how everything was going on. I was trying to place it. And that it did seem like, it was an inside job to get rid of the police thing by utilizing this guy who was going to befriend a terrorist and go through there and so on like that. That makes sense.
Right, because his friend from the academy even meets with his boss and is like, he's probably, what got him on the hook was the fact that she looks identical to the bomber, which is what we intended, or something like that.
Yeah, because
they found a girl who looked identical to the girl that blew herself up in front of them.
Yeah, well, what it does first is it leads is like, Fuse goes to the memorial center area where the chick that blew up initially, his body was, and he goes there and it's like there's a lady that looks identical to her there, and she's like, oh, by the way, I'm her sister. You knew who oh, you're the guy. Which is like, well, you're okay. You know what I mean? I read the report. I'm like, how's she know all this information? Like, you didn't just fire on her. And so on like that. For some reason, she had a lot of information about
She had all the information.
Yeah. And for some reason, he didn't question it at all. Like, I'm pretty sure none of this was in the news or anything like that.
Well, that's why I'm bringing this up now. I think they did know.
Mm-hmm.
I think the whole thing was planned by the Wolf Brigade, commanders.
Yeah.
Because you remember there's a part in the movie where they talk about how they have spies in every aspect of the government for the secret police. Because it's like one shadowy organization, basically. It's basically like our CIA now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so they're like, they have spies everywhere. I think the whole thing was set in motion by the Wolf Brigade people. Like, they knew this plot was coming to bring them down. So what's the best way to ambush an ambusher? Let them think that you don't know the ambush is there.
Yeah, exactly.
Type of scenario.
And it was a setup thing, and I feel like that's sort of like how it was going on. But he doesn't know this for a long time. As the viewer, you don't really know who this lady is exactly for a while either.
Right.
and you're just kind of going through. And this is where it's kind of weird because it's like you have that action in the beginning, and then for like the next like hour of the movie, you sort of just have these characters like sort of bonding and trying to understand each other. She's telling him the Little Red Riding Hood stories throughout time. You know she's Little Red Riding Hood because she's always wearing red, just like the other one.
Right. There's a constant theme being played while they're together where it's like, if you are a beast, are you always a beast? Like, can a beast become a man again?
Yeah.
Shit like that.
It has that sort of thing like, who is the bad guy even in the Little Red Riding Hood? Is it the wolf? You know? Is it in like the alternative versions, like the safe versions where there's the hunter? Or is it Little Red Riding Hood herself? Which one is the, you know, the true villain of this story? And can things change?
Right. Yeah, so you have like a romance growing between them, which is completely fake and fabricated by the other police agency. And he finds out pretty quick that it was all fake.
Yeah.
It's not like it took long.
Yeah, but for a while there, he's not. The Fuse is definitely not in on any of this stuff. He's definitely our confused man.
Oh yeah, well he's basically just at the mercy of like everybody else and their plans that are already set in motion.
Yeah, he's the patsy of it all.
The entire time they have, while he's at training, one of his I guess a Wolf Brigade commander is there and is literally watching him every single day from his window, talking about him like, "There's our man still on board." He's like, "A beast is always a beast. Don't worry about Fuse. He's the best."
Yeah, just going through it, looking down at him doing his judo practice and everything like that.
Right. And then all the, intelligence officers are communicating with each other and having interactions, like that same Wolf Brigade commander talking to, Fuse's former best friend or former close friend, whatever the fuck he is, who's basically betraying Fuse, going to set him up to be, a patsy in a political scheme. And, even asking him like, Fuse has been going out a lot. Is he, did he find some hot piece of trim out there? Do you know anything?
Yeah, what's he doing? He's jumping the fence at night.
Yeah, he's going out. He's he's running fast down that road. I've seen it.
Well, they go out, they hang out at the carnival on top of the skyscraper. It's kind of an interesting one, I thought. It's just like, you got a bunch of rides and theme park stuff on the top of a building. Oh, that's different. There's nobody up there.
Right.
For some reason. It's always looks like that thing's like borderline ready to be shut down.
It looks like every anime with high school and the characters go up on the roof.
Yeah.
That's how I honestly, growing up watching anime, I've always been like, man, does every high school in Japan have a fucking roof with a fence around it? You just hang out up there? Is this a thing?
I think it is if you're in Tokyo or any of the major cities,
Right. But I feel like it surely can't be. It's going to be when people would meet us, like when you're in Tennessee and me now, and they're like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "California." "Oh, did you used to ride the cable car around town?" And I'm like, "No.
No, that's only in one area.
What about the beach? Did you go to the beach all the time?" No.
There is no beach.
Beaches don't exist.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? This is the same thing.
I think it is. And I remember there was a guy once we were talking to, he's like, I went over to Japan for a vacation, someone like that. And he's all like, it was nothing what I expected to be like. Now, granted, I guess my view of Japan is like Japan of 1993 from all the animes I watched and so on like that. He's like, and here I am over here in 2013 or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Unrecognizable to what I was expecting.
Right. Dude, God, I know we've talked about this before, but that would be like if me and you did somehow luck into some money. We're like, all right, we're flying to Japan. We're just going to show up somewhere, expect them to give us a room and food, and we're going to trade martial.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We would just be on the fucking street.
They're going to let us drive their Volkswagens around and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's only one way to find out. Well, maybe we'll have to experiment one of these days and actually do this. Like, if a plan 40 years in the making, they finally decide to do it at age 52.
That would be hilarious if, like, you know, we had the money and then just turn it into like a documentary, which we would be like the asses. It'd be like This Is Spinal Tap, but just like tragic. Because just two old dudes, nothing works out.
Nothing. Nobody.
All their dreams are for shit.
All the anime that's there, anyways, like it's, you know, it's 40 years in the past of what they want to see.
Right. Oh, funny.
I guess that's why we always have Shenmue. Shenmue's like the perfect, like, hey, you get to go to Japan, and it should be the way that you expect it to be. It's translated for you.
Yes, you get to run around. You get to pick things up and look underneath them.
Exactly. You got arcades you could go to and everything like that.
Yeah.
You live in a sweet dojo-style house.
The town of Shenmue would be like the most disappointing place if you like moved, or like not moved. If you like went to go visit, and that was like the place in Japan you went to, you'd be like, oh fuck, there's nothing here.
Well, I mean, yeah, even whatever that town is or whatever it's based on, may even, like, okay, that town was like 1987, so what's it like now in 2025?
Right. I can only imagine.
It's probably Yu Suzuki's hometown that he, like, based it off of.
Have you seen, I think it's called, like, James May, Our Boy N, and it's, like, different countries he goes to, but he has one where James May goes to Japan. Mm-hmm. That is one of the best, like, you know, showcases, like travel type things for Japan I've ever seen.
Interesting.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's on Amazon Prime. I highly recommend that one.
I'll take a little look at that and so on like that.
He goes to Japan during a penis festival where they do a parade and they just like run around with giant dicks. Yeah, dude. I was like, okay.
That's awesome. Yeah, there you go.
What's up?
Going exploring some stuff, you know.
It's what Japan, you know, thankfully is, instead of 1940s Nazi Germany Japan.
Yeah, like we get in the, you know, Jin-Roh and whatnot, which I'm still kind of curious to know more, especially since I know that there is other movies and so on out there.
Right, yeah, that would be cool to know.
If they retain this same, like, vibe and look and everything like that and go into this world. Because it is really cool, but like, yeah, as I said, this one, you know, you're getting bits and pieces and stuff, and you're literally putting it all together. And even as this thing goes on, and we learn that like the girl that's been in there the whole time, the heck was her name again? Her name was Kay, right, or something like that. Kay.
Yeah.
You know, and you learn that she's not the sister actually. Like that comes right at some point where it's like, oh yeah,
she is a terrorist.
She's part of the terrorist group. You know, it's almost like they just have a bunch of them that all look the same. They put a red jacket on them. There you go. Grenade in the parachute. She also failed to deliver her bomb or to bomb her target because she didn't want to die. Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of funny, seeing how the ending went. But
yes, well, yeah, she has to, be sacrificed in the end in a different way, but
right. Well, that's also what made it so good. So it's like, and it's part of why it's such a compelling story, because it's like, I don't understand why he saves her at first. So basically, you know, they're going out, they're hanging out together. She's reciting nursery rhymes to him. He's fallen in love with this bitch. And then the top leaders of the Wolf Brigade meet up, and they're basically like, let them know, like, it's time to initiate the plan. And so they leave a little note for what's his name, Fuse. They leave Fuse a little note, and it has a photo of the girl and his former close friend meeting up. So he knows that it's all just one big scheme to get him on the hook. So instead of like doing anything else, he immediately goes out to save her. Like, basically, it's almost like he's going to abduct her. Like, I don't really know why he just takes her and runs, because he tries to leave her behind after the fact. You know, like when they finally get away from everything, he just starts walking off like, whatever, bitch, you can go wherever you want now. But he goes out to basically go to the meeting that he was already going to go to. He was going to meet up with her because she calls him saying she needs his help or something. And that's when the police are going to spring this whole scheme that she's giving the bomb to a Wolf Brigade member who's going to go do a terrorist act. And they're going to use it to take out this entire unit. But instead of that, Fuse just decides to fucking manhandle the entire like police department and make them all his bitch. Like he fucking starts choking dudes out. He's like Solid Snake fucking action through this building, the Natural History Museum.
Yeah, he's going through there. There's one of those, it made me laugh. There's one of those, whatever you want to say, our Japanese CIA kind of inside guys that I kid you not looks like a Japanese Hank Hill in this thing. And it's probably almost before there's even that episode where Hank finds his Japanese brother. Maybe this is Hank's brother because the dude.
I want to believe.
The way that this dude is drawn is so like Japanese Hank Hill the whole way through.
I want to see if I can find it.
I almost was going to take a picture when I was watching it and like send it to you because I thought it was so funny.
I wish you did because now I'm curious.
You know, because even if you type it in, maybe it'll pop up. Maybe if someone didn't, but like,
oh my god, I found it.
He's got the glasses on. He's got like it's almost like
Can you see this?
Yes, that's him right there on the left side. It totally looks like Hank Hill.
I typed in Jin-Roh Japanese Hank Hill. That was the first image that popped up.
Yep, that was the one. I was laughing so hard there, and
right.
Yeah, Fuse literally takes that guy out, and then I never see him again. It's not like he kills him. He just like literally like comes up from behind him and just knocks him out. Yeah, and that's it.
I haven't seen our perpetrator yet.
What are you working? Robots.
Oh, look at robots.
But yeah, so he goes in that Natural History Museum, like goes through, takes those dudes out, kind of goes, literally has no problem whatsoever wiping all these guys out.
Dude, he's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, they put too much training into this guy.
Yeah, he's a bad motherfucker. So the people trying to get him now are like, I'm guessing it's like some regular police or something. And it's the beef between the regular police and the special police. And Fuse just makes them all his bitch. He gets the girl, is able to get out, still a Volkswagen.
Yeah.
And they get as far as they can, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And even like little like moments that like I never thought about, but it makes so much sense. Like if there's a police roadblock, but you have trolley cars that drive up and down the street, are they going to stop every single trolley car?
Yeah, good question.
And the answer in this movie is no. Like you could just get on a trolley car and just go right past the police checkpoint like it's no big deal.
Yeah, they're expecting you to come by in a Volkswagen Bug,
Exactly.
But nope, yeah, they kind of sneak through there and so on like that. And they get by them and so on. And by this point, does he realize that... Does he know exactly who she is yet? I can't remember. I know I just watched.
Yeah, he knows who she is. They go back up to that store rooftop again. Well, it's all closed. Somehow they break in.
Yeah,
and they go up there. They have
amusement park on the roof.
Right. And they have their little romantic moment where she's basically spilling her guts, telling them everything, that she's a terrorist and she couldn't kill herself because she wanted, somebody to remember her. She realized if she died, no one would remember her, and it was basically like she never lived. Some stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
And they have their little moment. Yeah, they have their little moment. He's still not saying anything because he never fucking talks through this movie.
No.
He barely says anything at all. And they have their moment, and then they go to leave. And that's one part I don't. What they do, they go back to the sewer because she's like, we could run away, and he's basically like, we can't. There is no running away from this. Like, we have nowhere to go. And he goes back to the sewer, and that's when he meets up with his crew. So that's what I'm saying. It was planned the entire fucking time. They went right back to the sewer where they're like, we can just fucking own all these cops, kill them all, let them think they got us in an ambush. we're the ones that are ambushing these bitches because they come fucking heavily armored. And the girl has no idea. The girl thinks they're escaping somewhere, and then just all of them are there, and he starts suiting up in his, new Shadow of New Wolfenstein battle armor.
Yeah, they're just putting the armor on. He's got, the helmet. He's being low with the gun. He's got the mask. They're just all there piecing him up, and he's just ready to go to combat. He's going.
Yeah, his
he's
colonel
going to be big old Jaeger from speaking of even Call of Duty, like one of those enemies.
Right, dude. And his Colonel Campbell is basically telling her everything about like he's one of the best. He's a fucking beast. He has no place with men. He's here to kill fucking people.
Yeah, he is the wolf.
He is the wolf. And so basically the Wolf Brigade ambushes the secret police. And it's the highlight of this movie because it's like turns into like almost like a horror movie at this point. Mm-hmm. Like there is no gun battle, really. It's so one-sided.
Yeah, he just comes in just like the Terminator blasting them down.
Dude, stands right in the middle, lets them shoot him, and then when he's like walking the gun up on him, oh, I love it. It's so good.
It's great. He just goes and just tears through these guys down here in the sewer and whatnot. Just blast them all through them, killing guys left and right. There's literally no chance. Right.
Even like gives them chances. Like the guy who gets up on the wall and he's hiding. He has the RPG basically.
Oh yeah.
And launches the RPG at him, and Fuse just doesn't move. It just goes right over his shoulder.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, well now you fucking die. You had your chance.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's almost like I feel like Fuse almost has like he doesn't care if he lives or dies. It's just whatever, He's at that point. So he's got nothing to lose in a sense. So it makes him a dangerous man.
Right, dude. In the final scenes with his like former best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that part. He's like, "What makes you better than me?" And like. He's all just has his like graze wound on his leg. He's like, I can't fucking make it any further.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, that guy just gets torn up once he eventually like after he gets his steel in.
He gave him like a little bit of extra, comeuppance.
Yeah, he
like
just
Fuse put the whole belt into him.
Yeah, he just lets it roll.
Yeah, like that one was brutal.
Yeah, no, it gets intense. Just blood shooting out everywhere and so on. No, yeah.
Right.
He finished him off right there, his buddy and everything like that. Now they've kind of got this little bit of a fuse going between both the Wolf Brigade and I guess the other Secret Service kind of guys and so on to see if they can infiltrate this. Because even some of the terrorists are working for, in a sense, like you would say the CIA part, a section of it, not the Wolf Brigade. Yeah.
Right.
But
the Wolf Brigade they take the upper hand at that point.
Yeah, the Wolf Brigade they're going to stand their ground and so on.
Dude, the final scene when basically they're like, well, right before the final scene where they're like, we need her, like she's our ace in the hole. Don't worry, Fuse, go fucking kill everybody, right? So. Mm-hmm. That whole conversation happens. They get out of there. They leave the scene, leave all the dead bodies and what have you. And the Wolf Brigade's exfilling from the area. And they basically like, I think it's like the final test for Fuse is the way I kind of took it. Where it's like, all right, you want to stay part of the Wolf Brigade? This is your final test. In a sense, like he had to kill all the secret police people. He had to wipe out the CIA hit team that was coming for him. And then they take the girl and they're basically like, we don't need her anymore. The ace in the hole is just letting them think that we still have her somewhere. But you can go ahead. You can just fucking kill her now.
Yeah. So there's one of those ones like, yeah, he has to take her out. And she gives him that last little bit of like the, Little Red Riding Hood story and whatnot.
Right.
Like the part where like, the girl or Red Riding Hood climbs in the bed with the wolf, still at this point, I always think it's like, I was like, you didn't realize this is the wolf by this point? Like, this is supposed to be like some special ed girl. Like, out delivering
Right,
cheese in the forest in France or wherever the hell that story takes place.
How well do you actually know your mother? Have you ever seen her before?
Yeah, one of those ones, and plus this wolf is very cunning. It's literally putting clothes on. It speaks English or French, whatever the story's in. It can manipulate, door handles and all kinds of stuff. It can put blood in a jug for some reason. It's got a lot of skills on its hands for this wolf.
It's a very skillful wolf. I think it's funny though, her like screaming out the nursery rhyme right before he fucking kills her. Yeah. What big eyes do you have?
Yeah, she's supposed to be like, it's one of those ones like she's trying to put it together like that since he is the wolf that like she's been duped, thinking that like it is like a loved one, but it's really just it's the wolf waiting to get the mission accomplished,
Which she was right.
She's right. He pulls the trigger. He finishes her off. It does make you kind of for a second because then it shows one of the other guys like pointing out from the distance. Like, wait, did that guy shoot? Oh no. He just for some reason is holding the gun out. I guess just in case. Fuse.
I think he was going to kill. I think he was going to kill Fuse.
You think that's what he was?
I don't know, but that's what I like to think. I like to think of that as his final test. Because if it's anything else, holy shit, I feel bad for Fuse. Well, I still feel bad for him because the dude has like severe PTSD.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about his dreams where he's like just like running through the sewer and he's like, oh no, there's that girl. I got to run, make sure she doesn't blow up herself. Hey, there's wolves everywhere, but they like me. Yeah, these are some cool wolves. No, wolves don't tear limb from limb.
Yeah, she's just all mangled up there and stuff. The wolf is like
ripping her face off.
Yeah. Yeah, and he has these
like it's super brutal. Yeah, it's super brutal dreams. So it's like homeboy has some like severe PTSD going on, and then he gets tricked by his Colonel Campbell right at the end, who's like, "No, never mind. We don't need her. You've got to kill her, bud. I know you like her a little bit."
That's okay. But there'll always be others. There's always other men, too. Nothing wrong with that. That's how you keep it in the family. Like, what? Don't worry, it's a wolf thing.
Dude, it's like Kingsman, the first Kingsman movie. I thought that was such a great plot device.
The dog?
Where the dog, yes. Mm-hmm. Like, that is such a good plot device. Like, when you really think about it, it's like, for a viewer, just adding that little element into it like just ups the tension, ups that drama.
Yeah.
Especially in a hilarious movie like that. It was very well done.
No, I like that too. And it's a good test one too, to see if someone is
right.
How faithful someone can be,
Right. But these weren't blanks. He really killed her.
No, yeah, he really did go for it and so on. And I think you're right. I think that dude pointing the gun was like he was waiting for him to, if he was going to try to make a break for it or something like that, he was going to finish him off. For some reason, he's got like a pistol to finish this dude off in an armored suit. But let's not question that, I guess.
Right. Well, his head was out.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, he had the helmet off by this point.
Because we got to watch Fuse have his PTSD scream where he's like,
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, he does it. He finishes off. He shows that he's a good soldier in a sense, and he can live another day to take on another mission.
He's not a man. He's a beast.
Yeah, he's the wolf.
Colonel Campbell even says that. He's like, we don't need no pussy in the Wolf Brigade, son.
Yeah, he did. And then I literally think it just cuts the credits right there. It's like that's it. It's like, yep, he did the job. Done.
Right. So that's why I fucking love this movie. The style of it, the weird alternate Japan, World War II Nazi Japan, the fucking gore and violence, because it is so well done and so brutal. The wolf scene is absolutely brutal. I mean, when people get gunned down, holy shit.
Yeah,
they get gunned down. They make an MG42 look like an MG42 with how nasty it is.
Exactly. It just the animation itself is just so fluid and well designed. Once again from the Ghost in the Shell kind of team and so on.
Right, and it kind of makes sense like that they would take on something like that because it's very Ghost in the Shell-y, where it's this more of a thriller, like a drama thriller than an action flick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's definitely kind of almost how Ghost in the Shell goes by us too. It's got when it has action in it, the action's really cool, but then there is a lot of just like downtime scenes and so on. And that was the thing that kind of surprised about this one too, even though I guess it shouldn't have surprised me. But like, yeah, it's the fact that like, yeah, there is just a lot when the action's there, it's brutal and violent, but then there's a lot of just story elements and just hard drama that carries this thing through. A little bit of espionage and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I like the hard cut at the very end too. Like, he kills her, goes to credits. It's almost like one of those ones, like, there you go, like, serious as all can be. Almost ends like a 70s movie.
Right. So where would you put this, like, now that you've seen it? Where would you put this in, like, your 90s anime films? Not just, like, all together anime, just the film side of it.
Yeah, because that's a good question. Since I've only really watched it once, I did like it a lot, so I don't know where the heck I put it at, because
you got the Ghost in the Shells, you got like Vampire Hunter D.
Well, that's 80s Vampire Hunter D.
Is it really 80s? Is that fucking old?
Yeah, that's the thing about anime. Anime was, it's like one of those ones like they were dialed
in the 80s.
Yeah, well, they were dialed in the 70s as well, too. There's some really good stuff from that time period. It's like, that's kind of the thing about anime, where it's like, you know, American stuff kind of took like a moment to get kind of like that dialed in, where it wasn't super, you know, kind of kiddie and just goofy. Not saying any of that stuff can be bad, but, you know, like anime, like, and especially even manga and stuff like that, like, there's even stuff from like the 60s where it's like, yeah, it's good to go, you know, because they just had so much stuff going on, and they're making it for a much wider audience. But yeah, Vampire Hunter D, yeah, that one's actually older than you'd think. But that's how so much of stuff is, because it's like the way that like in the U.S., especially back in the day, is everything was always like 5 to 10 years past like when it came out in Japan. So when it felt like it was kind of like, oh, here's the new one, you're like, it was almost like you're watching something from in the past, you know?
Right. All right. So here's a list of, I'm going to name top ones: Ninja Scroll, Ghost in the Shell, Perfect Blue, Street Fighter 2, Princess Mononoke, Evangelion, Jin-Roh's on there. Funny enough, I will give this as a 90s anime, Pokemon the first movie, which is fucking awesome.
Oh, I love that one. That plus has
it's
a great
so good.
You know, you got that scene where Pikachu, like where Ash like freezes, and when Pikachu runs over and tries to shake him to laugh, I'm like, that scene always hits hard. You know, he's like,
dude.
Oh, and he started to thunder shock him, trying to get him back to life, and it's like, oh, his buddy's fucking dead.
Dude, when the Pokemon are battling each other, it's just sad. You're like, no. Let's see here. Fatal Fury, the motion picture.
Good old Fatal Fury.
Good. That's a good one.
You know,
you got all the Dragon Ball Z films.
Yeah, there's always tons of those. See, that's the thing. There's a lot of stuff that, like, I guess because I've never really said.
Grave of the Fire. I think Grave of the Fireflies is in the 90s as well.
I think it's like 92.
Akira.
Akira's 80s. That's 88.
Is it? Okay.
You know.
God, that's so crazy. Akira's 88.
Yeah, you don't realize how old that one is, too.
That's insane. The Vampire Hunter D one's pretty insane, because that's a fucking great film. It's great books too.
Yeah, they got the novels and everything too. But yeah,
Jin-Roh's at the top of my list for 90s anime.
Especially, but I would say by just animation style and design and everything like that, it's definitely very high up there. You know, I think the story's really cool. It makes me want to really like know more about it. Like, I'm actually kind of interested to see if I can find the books / those other 2 movies. You know, I'm like, if those other 2 movies are even like, I mean, I'm not, you know, they might be a little bit more lower budget feeling since they're live action, but
the bar is low.
But yeah, I want to see. I'm still very curious to see what that's all about.
It's a unique world and like a unique take, just like Ghost in the Shell is so unique. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing.
Yeah, no, and it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'd like to know more. You know, especially since this movie kind of leaves you kind of just, it gives you like a taste, but doesn't really fill you in with too much backstory on what's really going on. So it would be interesting to see that. But no, I think it's definitely one of those ones. I'm glad I finally watched it after all these years. It fits into like so many things of like why like 90s animation just in general, whether that's American or Japanese, is I kind of think that's still the pinnacle era of animation. Like it's the true golden age, or second golden age, I guess if you want to look at it that way, of where animation is just dialed in the most. And I know some people will they'll say like, oh, well, wait a second, there's some stuff that, you know, people like in the 2000s. I'm like, I'm not saying story-wise or that. I'm just saying animation, because once you're into the 2000s, animation quality just kind of starts to dip. And it's, you know, even if it might look kind of decent, it's like it loses something of that hand-drawn nature once you get too many computers involved, you know. And this right here just falls right that kind of almost close to like that tail end, because there's not that many more. There's like 10 more years before it starts to, you know, kind of change up a bit.
Right. Dude, a perfect example of that, to where it's hard for those early adopters to CGI. It's hard to go back, because I remember I really liked an anime way long time ago. I think it was like Vandred or something like that.
Oh yeah, Vandred.
I was like, this was a fun show. Like, let's go back. Let's revisit it a little bit. I couldn't get past the shit battle parts. I was like, this looks so fucking dumb.
Does that one have a bunch of CG in it? I can't remember.
When it's like the battles in space with their ships and their stupid like humanoid mech things.
Yeah, they don't draw them.
Yeah, they didn't do it like, they don't go full Gundam style where they're like, nope, we're still drawing Gundam because we want to.
Yeah, or like Transformers and stuff. Yeah, that's such a bummer, because it just doesn't look nearly as good once you can see it's like, oh, it's CG. I get it. It's easier. I do understand, because the idea of drawing the same exact looking robot, you know, 10,000 times to make it look nice is got to be like a nightmare in a way. But at the end of the day, what do you want on the screen? Do you want to look really good, or do you want it to look like you kind of phoned it in?
It's probably cheaper too. You need less artists.
That's the thing about CG. It's like, because all you have to do to make, you know, it's like you make a robot, you just make them, you know, it takes a moment to make that initial, like, you know, design. But once that design's made, it's almost like you never have to draw it again. You just manipulate it. That's it. So it's pretty easy past that.
Right.
You know.
Right. Well, it's funny too, because it's like, I know we're planning at some point to do a Metal Gear podcast, but I just went through and did my first completion of Metal Gear Solid. I got to beat it again, get like the Otacon storyline.
I got that novel of the Metal Gear Solid 2 one.
Oh, that's cool.
I thought that was, I was like, when I saw, I'm like, dude, they have novels of that? I'm like, and then it's like,
I didn't know they had novels.
And then it's like, dude, I'm like, when I saw the dude who wrote it, I'm like, oh, I know that guy. I met him at one of the Comic-Cons I was at. He writes 007 books as well, too.
You gotta tell me if it's good. Does he do it just on the game? Oh, I guess he kind of has to do it just on the game. So he can't just go make up his own story.
Yeah, it's a novelization of the game. So there's also a first one. It just hasn't come in yet. But it's probably, you know, like the Resident Evil books, you know, those novels. Yeah. I think it'll be like that, you know, which the cool thing is it goes through the same story that you already like, but then because it's a novel, it can kind of touch on some extra little stuff and details.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of hard for something like a Metal Gear to, you know, be like, oh, I'm just going to go completely off script and like make my own story right now.
Yeah,
you, Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, only Hideo Kojima could, you know, write a novel and have it be like that.
Right. Yeah. But what I was going to say was with that first Metal Gear game, after playing 3 and 2 before going to Solid, I did it in like completely backwards because I wanted to.
Yeah.
The cinematic little touches that Kojima does were so fucking dialed in that 1998 fucking video game with like way less capabilities. It like made his, like, you know, movie style camera shots and camera angles and everything that he did. It's, I think, like basically his best work, because he was held back by the technology of the time.
Well, and that's something
I still love the new shit, but it's like, it was so perfect.
So, and that's sometimes how it is sometimes actually when you have like a little bit less technology and what you have to work with and so on like that, you actually will have a better product you know, because you have to think harder and you have to work more to kind of figure out how things will work. And sometimes in that process, you actually get better things that wouldn't have been your first idea, but like the farther you got into, you're like, oh, wait a second. And I think that's why Metal Gear Solid always stands out, like, is that pinnacle one. And I think just in general, I think PlayStation 1, and I know that just might be talked about because that kind of hits right in our core generation, but you know, because if we were trying to tell this to like some 15-year-old kids, they'd look at us like we're fucking retarded and like ancient. But I think that PS1 era is really one of the most pinnacle systems, and so many stories in there, I think, are the best ones, like by far. And that goes with Metal Gear
1 and 2,
Resident Evil, Parasite Eve, Final Fantasy. There's a lot of that stuff there. It's just like that's like the most dialed in time period for
Legend of Dragoon.
Yeah, especially just RPGs in general. I think that is that's the golden age of RPGs is PS1.
Right. I mean, they're pretty fucking good, especially that Japanese style turn-based RPG.
Yeah, because
so good.
A lot of that stuff by the time PS2 comes, it fades away and it simplifies and it starts missing just some small element. There's other things that get improved, but yeah, there's just little things that just aren't the same always.
Right. Which is like analogous to what we were talking about with 90s anime. Mm-hmm. It's because you have so much more time and effort invested into the product, I feel like they really bring out all the stops. And that's what you could say for every single one of those 90s anime. And they have like a bit of an edge to them. Like, I don't know, like maybe having to draw the same image just slightly different 10,000 times makes it to where you're just like, like you're just kind of, you know, got this like edge to you. But look at the Studio Ghibli or however the fuck you pronounce it, films like Princess Mononoke and before it, Nausicaa of the Wind, which I believe is an 80s anime.
Yeah, that's 80s.
Grave of the Fireflies isn't Studio Ghibli. It is? Okay. Grave of the Fireflies. You just got these films by that company that were so much more edgy. And then you go into the next generation of films. And I'm not saying they didn't still like hand draw 90% of it, but the tone kind of changed. Like maybe that adversity of having to draw so much and be so dialed in and like, you know, probably deadlines. I can only imagine the deadlines some of those people were under. Just like, you gotta get this fucking done. We're working on the next scene, you bastard. Yeah, you're staying here till fucking, you're gonna finish this. I don't care when you leave.
yeah, I think it was kind of like that too, especially back in the day. That's why even like those manga artist guys would kind of go like, they get to that point where they just go, ugh, just too much, like whatever, and like story out the window, who cares? And I think that's why, like, I always notice is when I read mangas that a lot of times after about the third volume, it's like 1, 2, and 3 is like fantastic. Once you kind of get past there, it's not that it's bad, but you can just tell the guys like, you know what we're gonna do from this point? They're just gonna fight. They're gonna do a fight for the next 200 pages. I don't care. Like, at least I know what I'm coming in to do every single day. I'm drawing a punch. I'm drawing a kick. Fuck it. That's all it is.
Right.
You know, I don't have time to think about story or adventure anymore. Those days are gone.
Well, that's what gave us fillers. Like, as much as people love to like dick ride Shonen Jump magazine and shit like that, which gave us fucking amazing films, amazing anime. You know, some of the best anime of all time come from Shonen. Yeah. But it's a weekly publication, and I can only imagine the pressure, and that's why we have fucking fillers. And then same thing with anime. They're following the publication. They eventually catch up to the fucking thing, and then you're waiting for the manga to be released, but you have to release anime, so you make even additional fillers.
Yeah.
And, you know, fuck you guys for that. That pisses me off a little bit.
Well, then there's the weird ones too, where sometimes the filler stuff I kind of like though. Like, I'll use Dragon Ball Z for example. Is you know, because they make that Kai version where it kind of like cuts things down and it makes it kind of more similar to Akira Toriyama's one. And his is kind of streamlined technically compared to the anime, but I like the stuff that fills in the anime, like all like the side episodes and so on like that. Like, I'm not gonna say like every single one's amazing, but a lot of them, like they sort of add more context and depth and so on. And even some things like it's like Snake Way, like because like in Kai and even in the manga, like Snake Way feels like Goku it feels like he runs that in like a day and a half, and like so it doesn't feel that epic. But like in the anime, it takes like 14 episodes for him to get through there. So it seems like it's just like, wow, that Snake Way's really intense and so on like that. And he had to go through a lot of trials and tribulations to make it through there. It's like the Odyssey almost,
Right.
Where like, it's almost like if, the Odyssey was like, well, it's a book, but I mean, like, if it was kind of like the way that Dragon Ball Z was done in the book, is almost be like, Odysseus, yeah, he ran into one problem, and then next thing you know, he was back in, Ithaca again. Like, what happened a long way? It took him a year, but we don't need to figure it out. We're already past that point.
Right. Yeah, they did that, like, heavily in Naruto Shippuden.
Yeah.
But some of those fillers, it's like, man, they didn't need to exist. Like, it has no basis on the main story.
Yeah, they just start to go way. They're just there to be like, hey, here's some extra stuff, And I know all those.
We gotta let them catch up.
Yeah, and those shows they have to have an episode. I think if I have to guess, I think in Japan those episodes literally run Monday through like Friday, so there's like one every single week, and that's why like a lot of times you'll see a season and like the season's like 50 episodes long. It's like, oh, it's almost like a year's length. You can just see why there's so many episodes there.
Right.
Just overkill almost, but
well, it kills some things like Full Metal Alchemist, the one that came out when we were young.
Yeah,
they outpaced the manga, so they kind of just created their own thing, and then eventually Brotherhood comes out and corrects the whole situation, which is a much better story.
Yeah, no, I definitely did. I do kind of want to give the original version another watch because I haven't watched it since we used to watch it when it initially appeared. And
well, there's elements that we lose in Brotherhood. Like Mustang's character is very different in Brotherhood.
Yeah,
he's not as cool as he was in the original one.
Yeah, I do kind of remember some stuff like that, but it's been so long. It's kind of hard to find that original version. They had it for a while on Netflix, and then they took it off. And because mostly you only find Brotherhood anymore, even like on DVD or anything like that. It's kind of like the lost version is the original one, but I kind of almost want to give that one a go if I'm doing another rewatch, or it's even like the Hellsing.
It would be fun.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like that original.
Oh
Hellsing
yeah, original Hellsing versus Hellsing Ultimate.
Yeah,
I like the original Hellsing more.
Do you?
Personally, yeah.
Because I haven't watched. Because I remember that one. It starts off like the book. And then I think by like episode 3 or 4, it's like that was all that the dude had, because that dude, he was one of the only few people, because I remember he has special features in the back of his book. He literally spent the entire year making one Hellsing book like that. Like he wasn't like one of those guys
crazy.
That was stuck like doing like, a Hellsing book every 2 months, or 3 months even. Like he literally got actually more time to do that, which I guess is probably for the better. But so that's why it took him 10 years to do that.
It makes a better product.
It probably does.
You know what I mean?
Because, well, as I said, like that's why I've learned of so many manga runs. After about the 3rd or 4th book, you see it. It's like they hit a wall. And they're just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have the character. No more adventure. You know what I mean?
Dude, even American comics too. Like when back in the day when you would get like the stories pumped out. Because I remember you would have lulls and. Because the only series I really stayed up on for the longest was X-Men Ultimate X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
That one, and like you would have dips where like the story just like goes out the window. It's like, hey, they're hanging out.
Yeah, you just have like literally a graphic novel where it's just like, okay, that was just okay, and then it picks back up again. But
yeah.
In manga, a lot of times the core thing you notice is if they get to a point where they just start fighting continuously and nothing else is going on, I'm always like, yeah, they ran out of ideas right here.
Right.
That's why like in the beginning, that like the best run of Dragon Ball is literally like the first 3 books because it's all adventure, and then it feels like his adventure was kind of done. And it's just like, oh shit, well, what do we do? Well, he's the world tournament. What's he gonna do? He'll go back to that for the next 4 books.
Dude, that's like me and Casey tried to make a comic, and like we started out with like a story, like so far into it, and then literally ran out of ideas, and we just were like, why don't we just rip off Yu Yu Hakusho in the Spirit World tournament? Like, okay, we'll do that.
Yeah, exactly, and then that's just what happens. He gets like that, and it's like, yep, there it is. Or oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on that one. The one where it's like the dude, like the kid's like the government like MMA fighter, Baki.
Oh, Baki, yeah.
'Cause that one starts off. It's like at first, like in the initial run, it's like he's on an adventure. It kind of reminds me of like Street Fighter 2V. Like he's traveling around the world, going to different like fighters to learn their tactics and so on like that. That lasts for maybe like 15, 20 episodes, if that even. And then all of a sudden, it's like he's in a tournament for like the next 35 episodes. It's like,
or Street Fighter V series, where they spend 3 episodes figuring out how to use their Hado powers.
yeah. Well, at least that one's pretty. I think that's why I like Street Fighter 2V so much, is that they still are always on kind of like an adventure, because like every like 2 to 3 episodes, they're kind of like in a new section of the world. They interact with some new character from Street Fighter, and they're progressively changing. And it's just mostly Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li going through this, in a sense, adventure. Because I think the adventure aspect is always my favorite part of like any of those kind of shows. And once the adventure part kind of dwindles, and then it starts to become like, oh, we ran out of ideas, let's just have them keep fighting for like the next like 40 episodes. Right. That's
I want to rewatch that so bad.
It's so good. We'll have to sit. Maybe we'll have to do that. Maybe that'll be one of those ones we'll have to talk about, because I love that. To me, when I think
I found it online.
Well, there we go. I still have my DVD ones.
Yeah.
That we would always just like, it'd be like the weekend, and we'd like literally binge watch those whole DVD sets from like Friday to Sunday.
Oh yeah, those were fucking sweet though.
So good. Yeah, that's how I always kind of feel about some of those anime sets. Like so many of them, that's why I think that length of like 24 episodes is kind of probably the nice one. Once you start to get to that 70 episodes and so on, it's like, you're going to hit that mark where it's like, we ran out of ideas.
Yeah, I'm at the point now to where I'm pretty caught up, which I'm sure you probably saw on my Crunchyroll. If you went into like look at everything I've watched, there's a lot in there. But it's either stuff that like it runs the season, and then the new season will have to come out in the future, and it could be like a year to 2 years later. So it's kind of like, forget about you until then. But I've just been picking anything that's like 12 to 24 episodes, and then I try to finish it. And that's it. And then I'm done with it.
Well, that's kind of a good way. You might find some things that you normally would never watch on your own, and then it's like, well, fuck, I'm just going to give it a go and see what happens.
I've seen so much shitty anime. It's not even funny. Most TV is boring to me, though. Like, name a good TV show right now. They all kind of suck.
Yeah.
Even the people that were into Yellowstone, I agree with Quentin Tarantino, to where it's like, that first season, I watched the fuck out of it. And I was like, man, this show is amazing. And then I started to like ask questions like, why is it that these people are always in gunfights, and the FBI is not coming down to like investigate them? Or like, why is it always somebody has to have some sort of fucking drama going on? And Quentin hit it on the nose when he said basically those are just soap operas with some action thrown in and like a cool scenery and like some good actors. So you're cool with it while you're watching it, but it's basically just a shitty soap opera, just a drama show.
Yeah.
Well, for no reason.
And I think that's why I've always had kind of the hardest time with television in the last 20 plus years or so, is that I think that's what it is. That kind of stuff loses me when like they have all the group of characters and they all have their issues and so on like that. And I think sometimes there's a lot of people that they'll watch a TV show, and like in 45 minutes to an hour length, there's like one 10-minute section that's really good. And that's the part they remember. They forget the other like 50 minutes that was crap and boring and nothing happened. Right. But that one part stands out to them and so on. And I'm the kind of person where instead I remember, I almost put aside that 10 minutes and I remember the 50 minutes where I was really bored. And that's where I kind of go, that's why I like TV back in like the 90s and back, because at least TV at that time period, like the episodes were like one continual like, story, and then it ended and the characters continue in the next one, but it was like, hey, they're onto a new place, almost if it was like X-Files, or if it was like Xena, or if it was like Young Indiana Jones, like, yeah, there's a little bit of carryover, but for the most part, each one's its own kind of story, and then it'll go.
That's why sitcoms are so great.
Yeah. Sitcoms are, for example, that's why they still actually hold up, because they're not.
Yeah. You could throw on a Seinfeld, a Friends, or an Office at any time on a random episode on any season and be entertained.
Yeah, it's not like if you turn on like season 6 of Arrow and if that was the first episode you watch, you'd be like, "What is going on?" You know, there is no way. You know,
you lied to me, Ollie. Well, I don't trust you. Why don't you trust me? Because of this, what happened 4 seasons ago.
Well, and it's like even South Park kind of got bad for a while about that. They started doing their sitcoms like that, where, you know, one season was like the 10 episodes were all interconnected.
Right.
It's like, you know, that could be kind of cool for a moment, but sometimes it's one of those ones that's like, well, that idea was neat, but now by about episode 5, it's like, I wish there was something new. You know, I'm kind of burnt out with it. Maybe go 3 episodes and then call it a day. But yeah, so I don't know.
I haven't watched South Park in so long.
I'm just one of those ones, like, I literally have kind of wrote off live action TV. Like, I'm at that point where I'm like, you know, I don't think there's much out there that I need to watch. Like,
I know. I've been telling you to watch Punisher forever, and you just won't do it.
It's kind of part of my writing off TV kind of thing. It's like one of those ones where it's like...
It is a TV show, and it does have a lot of fucking drama for sometimes no reason.
Yeah, and it's that thing. It's like there's so little of time. It's like, you know, it's like I'm most likely just going to spend that. If I'm going to spend that time, I want to be on movies instead. And there's so many movies that there always is to watch and rewatch, and things like Jin-Roh that I've never seen. So, you know, there it is. You know, if it's
Cutthroat Island
or Cutthroat Island. You know, anime wise, I'll watch that. But a lot of times, even anime, sometimes I'm like, you know, it's like any TV shows. Like, I don't mind, like, I like finding new stuff, but there's so many old things I could almost go back and rewatch that it's been so long that they'll almost feel fresh again. If I went back and watched Full Metal Alchemist, that original version, you know, other than the fact I know the core characters, it's going to feel fresh. I'm not going to remember all that stuff in there, you know. Even Street Fighter V, I've watched it a lot more, but even that one, I could go back and watch that, and it's going to feel kind of fresh again, too.
That's how I was when I rewatched Blue Gender like a couple years ago.
Yeah, that one I would be super fresh if I went back to that because it's been so long. You know, even like Bubblegum Crisis and so on like that. I've been wanting to sit down and watch that again too. And that's, I mean, there's so many old ones that if I could go back and spend 10 years watching just the old things again, and then I'd be like, okay, cool, here we go. You know, yeah. That's one of those
they remade Rurouni Kenshin. Did you hear about that?
The last thing I remember is I just remember there was the 3 live action movies. They were actually pretty darn good.
Yeah, they have a remake Rurouni Kenshin anime. I'm pretty sure I finished out the season, and it's like stops right before he's about to fight Sisu or whatever the fuck his name was.
Okay.
The guy wrapped up in the bandages.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I need to finish that anime. I don't know.
Someone coming.
Yep.
Yeah, well, it's like one of those ones, like, it's even sometimes there's those, like, they made, like, the new Ranma 1/2 one, and I remember I started up, and there was nothing really wrong with it, but I felt like, if I'm going to watch Ranma, I'm just going to watch the original version. I don't know why I'd watch this new one, to tell you the truth. You know, I mean, like, it's decent looking, but, like, I like the old school animation a little bit more. It's even like the Sailor Moon Crystal. Even though Sailor Moon Crystal's pretty darn dialed in, I still like the original look of, like, the old animation style. It's like, yeah, I'll take that one.
I would never watch Sailor Moon, but I'll take your word on it. I haven't seen the Ranma one, but I did watch Rurouni Kenshin. Just because it was Rurouni Kenshin, I was like, let's see what they do. And it was still good.
Still good, yeah. Well, that's how that Ranma one was. It was still good. It just felt like it was made to be like they reintroduced the series to people that probably had no idea what it was. So I felt like it's like, okay, it's kind of cool. It's like, you know, it's like, you know, if it's catching you up, or it's kind of almost like a Dragon Ball Z Kai, but, you know, not necessarily. They probably did slim some things down, you know, probably a little bit less filler episodes and got to the point. Because that's what Sailor Moon Crystal even does, too. It follows, like, the manga. So it's not like, you know, all the extra little tidbit episodes. But sometimes those extra episodes, ironically, are kind of still... When you take them away, you kind of go, like, I feel like something's missing. I want my like, episodes where they just go different places, you know, and... why not?
That's the Rurouni Kenshin one in a nutshell.
It just sort of
cuts out all the filler.
Yeah. It probably does it just based off the manga, if I had to guess. That's probably like what it's doing.
Right. And there's different, like, I would say, like, new elements in it. It's good. I mean, it's not bad. I don't have anything negative to say about it.
Yeah.
It still is a really good show.
I'll have to check that one out at some point anyways, because I've been having a hankering to watch Rurouni Kenshin, and then even that Samurai X movie of his.
Right. Yeah. Well, that movie's awesome.
That movie's so good. Speaking of a good 90s anime movies, that one's one of the best ones.
Right. No, that one's really, really fucking good. I mean, that's the thing that's about 90s anime films. There's so many. Well, that one that I said first, it's another like drama mystery one. Perfect Blue.
Oh yeah.
That is like just a great movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't even need to be in its own category. Like the drama and it's like Princess Mononoke. Like they're just phenomenal films. Just watch it.
Yeah, just like
be entertained.
Yeah, compared to any genre, it's like they're beyond animation in a sense, I guess, or like the stereotype of what an animation would be. But
right, like it has the ability to transcend its medium.
But yeah, just like Jin-Roh, that really is like you watch this movie and it's like if you could almost take the fact out that you're watching an animation and it's like, oh no, it's just a serious thriller drama at the end of the day. That's got maybe a little bit of romance and a little bit of like espionage and so on in there.
Lots of twists and turns.
Yeah, that makes it really cool. And as I said, I'm really interested to seeing what these other two movies are. Just out of curiosity.
It's always relevant when you live in Western society where we have to straddle this line between order and chaos. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, it's a tale as old as time. I mean, our setting is old as time. Like it's just. It's perfect. Like it works now as well as it worked back in like I guess the 90s probably.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like you could feel it, the stakes at play, and I don't know. There's something about that style of setting. I just fucking love it.
Yeah, no, I just think the aesthetic's cool, the world's interesting, and it makes me just want to like learn more. So I think it'd be fun to go down the rabbit hole on more of that kind of stuff. But yeah, Jin-Roh, you can check that bad boy out on Crunchyroll. It used to be on Amazon for the longest time. For some reason, it's not on there anymore.
Right.
Yeah, there's that. There is a Blu-ray and whatnot. But yeah, check that bad boy out. It's really cool. It's really fun. I'm glad I finally sat down and watched it. I know you've been telling me
an unsung hero of the 90s.
Yeah, for like 15 years plus. So, yeah, finally got around to it like so many things. But, yeah, beyond that, go check out more Old Man Orange podcasts on YouTube and Spotify. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And Josh.
And we'll see you some other time.